the moderator, in order to moderate, has got to know precisely what the issues are. Now, see whether I'm right or not in what I say. It looks to me as if Mr. Goldwater was maintaining that artists, when they make works of art, inevitably either express their own society, its needs, its problems, and so on, or they simply repeat what artists of another period have done. Mr. Wright is maintaining that, on the contrary, there's a distinction between real artists and fake artists. The real artists expressing in their works of art eternal, unchanging principles.
Right.
All right. Now, here's where there's a cleavage.
Need no designation.
The only question is that some people call everybody artist, and you won't. I take it, Mr. Mr. Duchamp.
I won't wear that label, modern artist.
Yeah. Now,
artist is good enough for me.
We have somebody who knows about different societies. Maybe he'd like to.
I think the eternal principles have got to come out on the mat and be faced. Now, obviously, if you take two societies, even the English and the French, or the English and the American, you're going to get pretty different evaluations of good and bad. But let's say that's only different ways of listing the things, but the notions of good and bad are more or less the same somehow. Now, unfortunately, that isn't true either, because the principles upon which principles are built vary enormously from culture to culture, and that begins to be serious.
That's where I think you make your initial mistake.
If you consider the difference between, say, the Occident and China on the one hand and Japan on the other.
You're talking of ethnic eccentricity, not on difference of principle.
No, I don't think so. We deal very much in dualisms of one sort and another, and we think that you can choose one end of a dualistic contrast. You can choose democracy in preference to communism, or you can choose good in preference to evil, or day in preference to night, or something. Whereas when you get to the Chinese, you get an assumption that the opposing ends of a polarity are functions of each other, that good is a necessary development out of evil,
and yet,
as you feel that love and hate are related.
The man who is nearest to, has come nearest to expressing in philosophy the truth and the principles which animate an organic architecture were Laos of China, 500 years before Jesus.
There is a case for saying that we are moving in the principle on which we build our principles much more closely towards the Chinese position. You get it from the psychiatrist, you get it, say, in Jung with his mandalas and such things.
Because he was the man, the prophet, who first declared that the reality of any building did not consist in the four walls and the roof, but in the space within to be lived in. That was the reality of the building. Chinese. And that's organic architecture today. And the basic principle upon which we perform our would-be miracles.
Today?
Yes, today.
And yesterday?
Yesterday, all the buildings that really had quality unconsciously derived their essence and their validity from that unknown to them principle.
So that we get a system, agreeing as far as we possibly can, in which the principles exist around and are either known or unknown.
Well, principle is. We don't refer to it as existing. We don't refer to it as something to be made into a formula and used, but something which, like the sun, like light, exists, pervades an essence, giving validity, verity, significance, and value to everything the human mind can conceive and perform.
That means absolutely nothing to me, Mr. Wright.
Well, now, does that mean nothing to you,
That's
Mr. Bateson, because you're a scientist or because you're an anthropological scientist?
May I say here that Mr. Bateson, pardon me for interrupting
Surely,
His
Mr.
Honor, but a scientist cannot see the thing that I'm talking about. That's what shuts the scientist from the creative artist. Now, these twain someday shall meet, but not for centuries. The scientist, in the sense that he is the fact, has wiped out religion. He's been having a tremendous success where art is concerned, and he is the enemy at the present time of all that the artist would represent and would do for his kind. He doesn't mean to be. He thinks he's the beneficent, what shall I say, beneficiary. He isn't. We've carried this thing so far that we as artists are going to disappear. Religion has virtually disappeared so far as any real vitality in it is concerned. We've all been had by science. We've all been had by science in education. We've been had by science in our everyday life. And it's left us in a world ugly, God knows how ugly. And its redemption does not lie in the hand of the scientist, because he can only give us a toolbox. He can give us magnificent tools. He can't tell us one thing. What to do with it or how.
Well, what do you say for your craft, Mr. Bateson, after that?
I would say, first of all, that I think Mr. Wright is referring to a scientific epoch which is
wholly materialistic,
which is concerned with causal sequences in straight lines. A sets off B, B sets off C, so I can manipulate you, and you will manipulate somebody.
And the unthinking have made it success,
and
based success upon it, and recognize no success but.
Yeah, but the trouble is that then